Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of Panel Fest. I hope you're ready for another exciting day of 6-panel conversations on important industry topics. If you missed yesterday, they are available on Spotify and YouTube. Simply search Craft Beer Professionals or go to the link in the comments section below. But I'd like to give a big thank you to Mainvest for being our day 2 presenting sponsor. I'm going to turn it over to Nick with Mainvest for just a moment. Nick, welcome.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody. Happy to be here, and happy to be partnering with Craft Beer Professional to be talking about Mainvest. And we've worked over the last year with over 100 breweries, but we work with all types of small businesses in the brick and mortar space. And really, what Mainvest is we're a platform to help businesses get the funding and capital that they need by allowing you to raise capital as an actual investment directly from members of your community. So we've had again, hundreds of breweries we're working with, raising an average of $150,000, usually for expansion, distribution expansion, any kind of growth kind of raise, as opposed to like a consolidation of capital raise. And we work with these businesses to get you guys set up, launch these campaigns, and be able to go directly to your community and start raising that capital. What we found is businesses that raise on Mainvest have a better chance of succeeding. We've had 100% of our businesses in the last quarter continuing to make repayments and staying in operations, because a big part of it is you're getting that capital, not just the capital you need, but also the support of the community, the loyalty, and those kind of aligned incentives. And so you don't walk away with $150,000. You walk away with, say, $150,000 and 500 to 700 people that are now financially incentivized for your brewery to succeed, that are going to be patrons and evangelists. And there's a lot more to learn about. Love to talk to anyone that's looking to raise capital or looking to find different ways to kind of navigate through the craziness of the last year into the craziness of the next year. You can learn more at www.mainvest.com, and we're happy to set up calls with anybody and learn more about you guys.
Cool. And Nick, I know you've also helped out several community members in Craft Beer Professionals. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for supporting Craft Beer Professionals. And hopefully you can help some more breweries get going and expanding. So thanks again for being here today. And I'm sure you and I will talk very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. And now we're going to welcome to the stage. We have Chad. We have Barry. We have Nicole. And give it a sec. We're going to have a Mo in there. And Nick, sorry, we're going to say goodbye to you right now. But I appreciate you for being here today. I'm really excited for this conversation. We're going to talk about being a successful boss. And anyone who knows me knows I'm very passionate about the business side of the industry. You can make the best beer in the world, but unless you can run a business that can properly sell it, then it's all for nothing. So what we're going to do, we're going to just start with Barry, go around in a circle, tell everybody a little bit about you and why you're here today. Barry, the floor is yours.
All right. I am Barry Elwonger, the Director of Sales and Marketing and Stuff at Motorworks Brewing. We're a 30-barrel system in Orlando. We just opened our second facility, which is in downtown Orlando as well. Opened that about 3 months ago. While my title is one thing, I touch everything, including the production management, the supply chain, taxes, you name it, my hand's probably on it, and leading those different teams and understanding the differences of, the people and also the types of people in the different teams has been, a fun challenge and something that's helped me grow throughout my career, and wanted to share some of those experiences.
No, we're excited to have you, Barry. Now, Chad, tell everybody who you are and what do you do in the industry?
My name is Chad Bratt. I'm the general manager at Jagged Craft Brewery in downtown Denver, Colorado. We've been open here for 7 years. I helped start the business prior to us opening and put the finishing touches on the Taproom. And then from there, just took over management. And I love it. I've got a great team of people. I, like Barry, pretty much have my hands in just about everything, every aspect of the business. I have my hands in, and I get to work with a good team, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm excited to be here and talk about it today.
I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you today. And Nicole, I know we had a great phone call a few weeks ago, but for everybody who doesn't know you, tell everyone, a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everyone. My name is Nicole Carrier. I own Throwback Brewery. We are on the seacoast of New Hampshire. So I have a brewery and a farm and a restaurant. We've been in business for probably about 9.5 years now, and I started with my co-founder Annette. She's the engineer, brewer half, and I'm the MBA business side. I also used to be the president of the New Hampshire Brewers Association for 3 years. So I think Andrew, you and I like connected a little bit because I have a lot of experience working with other breweries, and I feel like not enough breweries pay attention to the business side of things. So I was really thrilled to be on this panel, have an opportunity to talk about like the importance of people and the importance of the business side of the brewery.
No, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And Mo, you and I have been in communication for quite some time now, and I think Mo, you do a great job of putting humor into things. Mo and I's latest shtick that we've been doing through emails is putting ridiculous like headshots of random celebrities and making it a guessing game to see, who's going to be next. So I think humor is a really important part of being a boss. But Mo, besides that, why are you here today, and what do you do?
I can hear everyone except for Andrew. Did he ask me to introduce myself? I seem to be
pretty much.
My name is Mo Wark. I'm the director of hospitality operations for a hospitality group based out of Portland, Oregon. In our portfolio, we have 3 breweries, 2 here in Portland and 1 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, as well as pubs, taprooms, and 2 boutique motels. Quite an extensive, diverse portfolio there. But we did start in brewing and breweries, and we have a 3.5 barrel system, a 10 barrel system, a 3.5 barrel system, and a 10 barrel system in Portland, and a 10 barrel system in Albuquerque.
Well, Mo, thanks for being here today. And Barry, I want to go back to something that you mentioned. You mentioned you deal with paperwork, you deal with brewing, sometimes you might be the janitor. Being a boss isn't necessarily just doing one role. And that's the thing that breweries these days, especially the smaller the brewery, the owner, the manager, wears so many different hats. How do you four balance your different roles at the brewery and just kind of keep yourself sane through all of it? Before we even get to talk about being a boss, for your sake, how do you manage all your different roles?
Well, I think in the beginning, it's kind of the thing we all laugh about, the chief everything officer, and you kind of have to do whatever is necessary to make sure the business runs. But over time, and as you scale, that's something that you absolutely have to step away. You need to put your people in place, set them up for success, and let them fail small so they can win big. So that's one of the biggest things and one of the hardest things, as you're growing a business from its infancy, is doing the dirty work, but also understanding when you have the right person, setting them up and like letting them run with it, and not just like going and doing that admin style level work when you really need that person to step up to the plate, even if they miss a little bit in the beginning. Coach, champion, coach, and make sure that they feel empowered to actually step up.
No, that's great advice. Chad, how about you? I know you said you're the general manager, but what responsibilities fall under your belt, and how do you balance your schedule to make sure you take care of all of them properly?
Yeah, and I'll amplify what Barry said too. But that's the hardest part, honestly, is managing the schedule, your own personal schedule. We manage a schedule for 15 to 20 employees, give or take, out of our small little tap room. Sometimes my own personal schedule is the hardest one to manage. Things come up all day long, and those are the things that you don't have on your plate for the day, but they're going to make a pretty big impact. Whether it's running to grab yeast from your local yeast supplier, fixing a leaky drain, fixing a toilet that won't flush, stuff like that you didn't necessarily have planned for the day, but that's when you got to get your hands dirty, sometimes literally, and make it happen. So, I think that, but what Barry said is completely accurate. Sometimes you have to step away from some of that stuff that's taking over your schedule a little bit more than it needs to be. Maybe it's not the best use of your time as a manager, and passing that on to some of the employees that have shown interest in it. And maybe it's not a full-on, maybe, marketing is one of those things. It's not a full-on marketing position, but you can throw them 5 hours a week to help out with your social media and help make some posters for your tap room, stuff like that, which goes a lot further than just 5 hours a week for them. It's a sense of ownership for that employee. It helps relieve your plate a little bit and allow somebody else to step up. And then it opens up, coaching opportunities down the road. Every job and every position has a learning curve to it. So there's expected to be mistakes and some errors along the way, but those are all great, and those are a good opportunity to show the employee that they can be confident in their work, and that if they make a mistake, it's all right. Let's get it figured out. And again, those things add things to your schedule, but I think that's part of being a manager is you might have a 40-hour work week, and then you might have an 80-hour work week. You never know what's going to happen, but that's just the joy of it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think definitely in the current state of the world right now, you never know what you're going to have to do every day. Yeah. You're going in blind almost, hoping that it gets better than the next. So
yeah, and going in with a positive attitude, staying optimistic as a manager too. Don't go in with a frown on your face, because nobody's going to get good energy off of that. Go in positive, even if it's a tough day, a tough morning, and you're stressed out. Just be a positive person, and it's really going to make a big impact. And the work's going to get done a lot more efficient. People are going to be happy to be there, and then hopefully your day will end on a positive note, not a negative one.
Yeah, 100%. Positivity and passion are definitely contagious, and I think two of my keywords right there.
Yep.
Nicole, how about you? How do you balance everything you've got going on? I know you said brewery, you said restaurant, you said farm.
Yeah, and I recently launched a sausage business too. So we got a lot going on. I really think that I agree with the guys, but I also feel like one thing that's made a huge difference for me this year is figuring out how to take time off myself, even if it's just like a day off a week, because just getting that time to recharge, to focus, allows me to be more creative, and then also, come in and be able to bring that optimism and bring that passion and bring that positivity to work. Like you were saying, Chad, being positive and optimistic, I think really helps.
I think that's huge also, just to,
go ahead, Barry.
Well, I just wanted to mention, so that was, one of the hardest things off of bridging that and getting towards that was like actually defining a line. In the first couple of years, it was pretty much, the projector's gone out or whatever, it's midnight, and I'm getting a text or call or whatever, and I didn't care. And as time grew, and like our previous this panel we were on about like growing a business with having a new young family, it's setting an actual like hard stop time. Unless the building is burning down, figure it out kind of thing. And even if you mess up, like unless you like really mess up, figure it out. Take the chance to do it, and don't feel like you're going to get your wrist slapped for making a decision, even if you make a mildly bad one. Unless it's like super consequential, in which case it's an opportunity to coach, or hopefully not making bad decisions. It's just setting that hard defined line. So like on the weekends, I go home to my family. I'm out of here at 6 o'clock, and unless something is really detrimentally bad for the business, figure it out. GM on the floor, figure it out.
Yeah,
we had a conversation yesterday on mental health in the craft beer industry, and one of the big takeaways from that was you're more than a brewery owner, you're more than a brewer, you're more than a general manager. You need to put yourself first sometimes, because as successful as you want your business to be, unless you're taking proper care of yourself, then the business is going to suffer at some point. So you really got to put yourself first. I mean, almost all the time, just to make sure your sanity is there, especially during 2020. But Mo, let's go back to you for a second there. How you mentioned so many different businesses in 60 seconds when you first gave your intro, and I hope you can hear me right now.
I can, yes.
How do you balance your time with all the entities you have to help oversee?
Yeah, so there's pre-COVID balancing of time, and there's post-COVID balancing of time. But in some ways, I think everyone would agree with this in the service industry. We've been training to put out fires and to deal with things as they come up forever, because that's what we do. But mostly, it's about developing people and delegating. And in my case, I mostly work with general managers at each location, and I train them a lot. I teach them a lot. I try to guide them a lot in delegating. And it's something that I think initially with a lot of GMs, they hesitate to do, because they feel like they have to do everything. And that's great. And that's the kind of work ethic we look for. But at the same time, you want the wisdom to develop in someone where they realize, I don't have to do everything. I can teach other people to do my job. I can teach other people to do parts of my job, so that I don't feel overwhelmed constantly with everything going on.
So you talk a lot about having a great team. I know quite a few of you have mentioned that already in the conversation. How do you strategize and build a positive company culture and surround yourself with great people who are passionate? Because so many people in the hospitality industry, they don't look at it as something they're going to do forever. They look at it as a job, a quick way to make a buck. How do you surround yourself with people who are actually passionate about your brand, your story, and everything you stand for? I would love to hear a little bit about, whether it's the hiring practices or how you take the people you've chosen to bring onto your team and just to make them as passionate as you are. What are some of the strategies that have worked for you for?
I can go first if you guys want. I think for us, like we have a very clear, defined set of values. So like we have values like be profoundly kind, and if you make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on, and teamwork. There's all these different values that we have that are on our website, and so it all starts actually when we hire people. As soon as someone sends us an email to apply for a job, I'll respond back and say like, hey, have you looked at our values and tell us which of those values resonate with you? It's actually helped us weed out a lot of people before we've even brought them in the door, because some people are like, oh, you're actually serious about that. You're like looking for someone to be a good part and a good fit of your team. You're not just like looking to bring in a warm body. So I think it all starts there, and then like living those values in practice has helped us a lot to retain the culture that we have. Everything from bringing in the right people to use our values to like, hire, fire, give encouragement, and it just sets up. I think it's really helped us over the past couple of years in living by our values.
No, I love how you reach out to all potential hires about those values, and you might catch them off guard with that email, I bet, but you're right. It definitely helps weed out the ones who might not be a good fit.
Yeah.
For me, one of my there's a couple of ways of asking the question, but one of my favorite screening questions in the initial interviews is to get the what's your favorite brewery that you've been to, not ours. Like, what's your favorite beer and why? What do you who do you like locally and why? Because we believe in co-opetition, and we're not the brewery that goes and trashes other places. We just don't believe in that. And I like to hear how they talk about other brands that are probably my friends, and how that impacts, because I think that's going to show a lot about their character. So it's one of like my phase one questions. It's one of the most important things is how you answer that in that initial interview.
Yeah, that is so true, Barry. That's a question we use a lot too. Is just kind of like warm them up a little bit during the interview. And because we're going to ask some tough questions, we're going to ask some easy questions, but we like to warm them up with a little bit of like, yeah, what do you like in the industry right now? What's your favorite style of beer? What have you been drinking? What's in your fridge? Where do you like to go drink beer at? And just kind of see their overall demeanor of it, and just the attitude they have towards it, whether it's positive and exciting, or it's kind of that they're already over it and they're already kind of exhausted, and they're just going to go do it again, this time at our brewery. So that's one way we typically will help decide who we're going to hire. Another thing I like to use is just bring in one of my bartenders or one of my supervisors that works behind the bar full time. Is going to be working hand in hand with this person. I like to just bring him in on the interview, and just help me kind of decide if that person's going to be a good fit or not. What the kind of vibe they're getting from them. Our location too in downtown Denver, we're right in the heart of downtown. We're not too far away from homeless shelter. We have a lot of homeless activity across, walking in front of our brewery. We get a lot of random people in the door. So you got to have some tough skin to be able to work behind the bar. And that's another thing that we really try to ask those hard questions about. Are you prepared for this? Because you might have to call the cops. You might have to remove people from the building. It's not the best part of your day, but we just want to make sure you're aware that it's not all fun all the time. It's hard work, and you're going to be in charge when you're here. So setting the precedent, absolutely, instilling our values immediately. If they're not on board with them, then it just isn't going to be a good fit for us. We've spent 7 years building a pretty tight-knit family here, and we're not looking to change that. We're just looking to improve that and add to it.
Now, Chad, with having a large homeless population around the brewery, oftentimes you'll get people from that population who apply at the brewery. Have you ever had any people, who you've seen just kind of on the streets nearby apply for a position?
We have, and most of it, and typically a lot of people are thinking maybe we have a kitchen or something like that. So it's a lot of kitchen staff jobs. We don't get a lot of people applying for an actual bartender job. But usually it's, hey, what do you got I can do in the back? Or are you guys canning or packaging or this or that? So, but usually we have so many people on board that we don't even need anybody.
Yeah, understood. But I think sometimes people who have just a strong desire to work, whether or not they have that craft beer education, can go a long way if they just really want to work hard. So
absolutely. And that's, first and foremost. I mean, we've hired a lot of people who had zero bar experience, zero craft beer experience, other than just being a fan of craft beer, which is a requirement for sure for applying at Jagged. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to work hard, you're going to go a long ways. And if you're going to have a good attitude about it, you're going to go a lot further.
Yeah, for sure. Just to piggyback off of that, you never know how far someone's going to go with it. And, having that someone that's a good cultural fit. Our packaging manager started off as a barback. Our lead brewer, who's been with us for over 6 years now, started off as a barback. Of all things, he had no brewing experience. He just wanted to cut his teeth. Was a barback for a little bit. Then he was a server. Then he just wanted to learn more about the bag. So he started washing kegs. And now, the guy is an absolute badass on our floor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think everyone has some great ideas here. I agree with everything I'm hearing. And I would add to that I really look for personality and attitude more than experience. Experience is great and it can have a great value, but I'm looking for that winning personality and that great attitude where they're going to come to work every day wanting to be there, because I can teach you to do your job, but I haven't really figured out how to teach people to have a good personality and a good attitude. You can coach it, you can help it along, but if they come in with a negative attitude and a negative and just a really abrasive personality, it's not going to work.
Cool. Good advice there, Mo. So we've got our team together right now, but once you have that team working at your brewery, how do you train them and get them more passionate about your brand? What strategies have you foreseen, most worthwhile? Is it having a written training manual? Is it just having, several training sessions with experienced staff? What methods have worked best at your breweries?
Well, for one of our things is we try to do a group outing quarterly, and we try to invite all aspects of the business to it. So like every spring we brew our oyster stout, and we do a big oyster cookout. We shuck a bunch of raw oysters. We do a big just general cookout in the beer garden, and we invite the entire team to it. We brew that beer together as a team, and then do that big cookout that's just a bunch of our front of house and everything else having beers. And we try to do it on a Monday or Tuesday that's a little bit less hectic, so we don't have to have so many people missing out that have to be operating on front of house side. So we love to do things like that. We try to do one at least every quarter. And what we found is by doing that and having a couple that we host as a company, a lot of our employees have been branching off and doing their own things and making their own little sub groups and going, bowling or going and, doing a brewery tour and hitting a bunch of spots nearby. But there's these little things that is completely on their own time and whim because they're truly becoming friends. And you can't teach that.
No, I agree with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, we start off kind of a normal training program. We have a handbook that we try to follow along with, and then we have just kind of go through every process of the brewery, whether they know it or not, or we show them how the process works in the back. We typically invite them in on a brew day, get them involved in that. Obviously, show them what proper PPE is as well, and so make sure that every time they're going back there, they know what they're doing and they're equipped for it. But we try to get them involved in that process so they really understand what they're selling on the other side of the bar. We also make sure that they know that they're welcome anywhere in the brewery too. So it's not, we have our production area that no bartenders allowed. It's wide open. You can come back, you can ask a question, you can point, if you want to know what's going on, just ask. And I think that's important in the training process, as well as we do a bunch of outings as well, just like Barry does. We always try to get people involved in going hiking or going backpacking. We did a 4-day backpacking trip this summer with a bunch of employees where we did four big mountain passes out here in Colorado. And it was probably one of the toughest things most all of us have physically ever done, but it was so cool. We had a great bonding experience, and just brought us a lot closer on a lot of different levels, and just fun stuff like that to really try to get people involved and try to get them more instilled in that family life we have here than just feeling like an employee that comes in and clocks out. We want to make sure that they have a support crew and family just outside of that in general, and a good friend base.
No, the hike sounds like a really, really fun time, Chad. I got to ask you, what was the hardest part actually carrying enough beer to last you 4 days?
No, whiskey takes care of that. You don't have to carry beers. We did bring one beer because we named a beer one of our pilsners after the loop that we hiked, and so we brought a couple beers for photo purposes, but mostly whiskey.
No, that sounds like a great time.
Yeah, I think Barry and Chad, you good points. And we luckily don't have a lot of turnover, but if we do have folks that come in. It's usually in the front of the house, so that we have the employee handbook, the front of the house handbook, and then hands-on training. But I think the big message here is that like employees that feel like they're part of a family, like a lot of their good friends are at work, they're more likely to stay and be engaged and want to help in the success of the company. So doing things like whether it's hiking or like we do like massive Easter egg hunt on Easter, like things like with alcohol-filled, eggs, of course, but things like that where people from all across the company or the farmers are hanging out with the brewers in the kitchen, in the front of the house, like making deep friendships is, I think, a large part of being a successful company.
Yeah, I think, again, everyone is doing a great job describing it. You're making my job easy going last here. But the formal training is fantastic, and a handbook is very helpful. I think it's also important to choose the right trainer, someone that is going to reach out to that new employee and make sure they do feel like they're being made part of the team. And then involve management in it as well. It's not just a server training a server. At the end of the shift, the manager sits down, talks to the new employee, makes sure they're getting the training they need. And I think training, a lot of it is about that new employee should want that information to feel comfortable in their role. So you want to follow up with them and make sure that they feel like they're getting what they need to succeed there. But then it's also ongoing. It never ends. I mean, that's true for anyone, anywhere. One thing we do every single day, every single shift is taste beer with all the employees. And we want every employee to develop a descriptor of that beer each time, even if they've done that same beer 20 times throughout their career with us. We do it over and over and over again, and it's fun. And I mean, the cool thing about being in beer is that we get to drink it, right? So the staff loves it. They really buy into it, and you learn more. Every time you taste it, you might something subtly different about it. Oh, I never noticed that before. So and it's a fun time. It brings everybody together and gives us a chance to build that team mentality.
No, I absolutely love that, because the educational component of craft beer these days is arguably one of the most important components. Your staff, they got to have a great personality, but they also have to be able to educate the consumers and everyone who walks into your tap room about that beer. It's frustrating when you go and you get someone who's like, oh, well, I don't really drink beer, and they can't explain it to you. Whether or not someone drinks beer or not doesn't mean they can't explain the beer. So I think, what you do, that educational process, walking people through the tasting notes, having them learn how to explain it themselves is very important. And Chad, I want to go back to something you mentioned a little while ago. You mentioned that everybody goes in the brew house and just learns how the process works. Mm-hmm. And one of the frustrations I've talked to a lot of people about is a lot of time there isn't that communication between front of house and back of house. Yeah. But besides, what Chad just mentioned, what strategies do you do to make sure there is that, friendship between front of house and back of house, so they don't feel like they're competing against one another, or more importantly, having a disconnect? How do you make sure those relationships are there? And let's talk a little bit more about what you do inside the brew house rather than all these fun and exciting hikes that we've been going on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it helps that we have a pretty small production team. Right now, it's just our head brewer, and she's super involved in front of house stuff. She doesn't bartend or anything, but she just loves everybody that works up there. So she's always having a shift beer afterwards, hanging out. And so that's honestly, that relationship cultivated itself. Didn't really need to do anything but just hire good people to do that. But, I think that's important. I employ a lot of staff who have come from other breweries around the country that have had that disconnect between front and back of house. And a lot of times they just, never went in the back of house. They didn't know the brew team. They didn't really know what was going on back there, which I think is really disappointing because, you're serving that beer. You want to know about it. Plus, I really hope that your brewer and team wants you to know everything about that beer. One thing that we do that really helps tie the front and back in, though, is quality control. We link anybody who's in the building at that point is QCing that beer. It doesn't matter who you are, even if you're a regular. If you're a brand new customer, we might not throw it in front of you just in case, but we're going to put it in front of our regulars. We're going to put it in front of our staff. We're going to put it, our brewer Alyssa is going to bring out a tray of samples for everybody. So we want to make sure that what we're putting out is quality for one, and then everybody knows what it is, and people have something to look forward to and something to expect. And to go with what Mo said too, on the educational part of that, it gives us an opportunity to have multiple different people taste the same beer, pick up multiple different notes, and to be able to kind of expand palates that way. Sometimes people throw a flavor out there that I have never tasted in a beer before, but the more I start thinking about it, the more I start tasting it in that beer, and I think that's pretty cool. So that's just a really fun kind of roundtable feel that really combines front and back of house, and also if there's just something that's fermenting that we want somebody to taste, maybe a new beer that we're just excited about that. We have already done the QC on, but we're going to bring some samples out. We want to get people stoked on it, and I think that's important to do. But I think that just really links front and back of house, and makes it more transparent, and you know exactly what you're getting, and if you got any questions, that's a good time to ask them.
No, I think it's very vital. Go ahead, Barry.
I wanted to piggyback off of that because a lot of what we're talking about is front and back of house, and we do that very same thing with our panels, inviting the front of house for it. We also so our sales staff, we do a quarterly meeting at headquarters, and we'll often invite them to the panel as well. And sometimes it's really fun for the panel's sake to have someone that's lesser trained off of like traditional paneling methods, and you get some cool descriptors that you're not. Some of us that do panels all the time or judging all the time, like we kind of get stuck in our ways every now and then of like same words, same descriptors or whatever. And hearing somebody that's like just fresh voice is often really fun. But other thing I wanted to mention off of it is, sales staff. And, when you are a distributing brewery, again, we keep talking front and back here. When you have that outside sales force and anyone that's external, making sure that you don't let them become islands, because that happens often. And, one thing that we like to do is a quarterly blitz that rotates between territories. And myself, the entire sales team, and often one or two of our brewers we'll just go and blitz a market and then do a happy hour there. And we rotate between each of the different markets. So each of the reps gets some love, and we get a bonding experience with the ones that often are, further away from home.
It's a great idea, Barry.
Great point there. I think it's important to make sure, your sales staff is definitely involved, because they need to be able to tell your story just as well. Does anybody else, Mo, Nicole, have anything you want to add to this?
So it's an interesting question about mixing front and back of house, because I remember as a young server many, many years ago, this was such an issue. I worked at a really, really big restaurant, the first place I worked. And I remember, I think we had about 80 or 90 employees in that one location. Wow. And I remember that most of the front of house people didn't even know the names of the back house people. And yeah, it's just a shame. Like it's something that's really important to me, is that everyone is a team and knows each other. So again, it goes back to starting with training. That trainer that you choose as a representative should be someone that takes that person into the back and says, this is John, this is Steve, this is Barry, it starts right there. And then for part of training is also our brewers do tastings with our front of house staff, two tastings with our front of house staff. They do 5 beers one day and 5 beers another day. And then when we do those daily training tastings with all of the staff, we include all of the cooks if the brewers are available, which often they're very busy, but if they are available, they join in it too. So it's that constant sense of community with the whole staff.
No, I love it. I want to go on to something that you just mentioned, Mo, just about, building that team and getting them to know one another. It's been a really tough year. I'm sure it's been a tough year for the 4 of you, but I'm sure it's been a tough year for your staff as well. I mean, we've quarantined, we've not quarantined, we've quarantined again, we've gone back to work. There's just been a lot of up and down cycles. How have you made sure your staff are doing well? How have you checked in on their mental health to make sure they're coping the best they can during this? What are some of the techniques that you've just done to make sure just everybody's doing okay on a personal level?
Lots of Zoom time. We've been doing like Zoom happy hours. In fact, we're doing one this Friday that we had a bunch of just random cans in our cooler from the mobile canner, and just people who drop off beer. So I mix them up into 4-packs and put them in a bag and seal them up so you can't see what they are. And then they're all getting them on Friday. We're going to crack them all open and drink them all together on Zoom. So something that's just kind of a check in on everybody and see how they're doing, have a beer. talk about things, whatever comes to their mind. Thankfully, a lot of my employees are still, we're closed right now, except for to go only. A lot of my employees are still popping in and grabbing a beer to go and saying hi. So they're still staying pretty active as much as they can. But it's tough, but it's really just checking in on each other, texting, seeing how they're doing, how you doing? How's your family doing? How's your dogs doing? How's this, and just, trying to be connected in their personal life a little bit more. I think it makes a big difference, and it's not just, your boss. It's more of a friend reaching out, making sure you're doing okay. And in turn, they do the same for me, which goes a long ways, them asking me if I'm good and making sure everything's all right on my end is amazing. And it honestly, it keeps the whole conversation going. And so we're all constantly kind of thinking about each other.
Yeah. And just because you're the boss doesn't mean you don't have tough days and hard days as well.
Nope. Definitely do.
Barry, you're up.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things. And like, when you have a good team and all that, they understand that you're a person too. And like, the last year and a half has been especially trying with having a new baby. And that's been interesting to see the dynamic shift of, again, being the guy that's going to go, hard every single day, nonstop sprinting. And to take a step back for it, it's been cool to see how the team has, stepped up or transitioned off of like how they approach when they need something and everything else, like, and understanding their, the different team members, what management style is going to work best for them is also one of the things that I've had to grow in because of that. It's like, getting them to understand my needs and understanding better theirs by having good, transparent communication. I think that's been a huge growth thing for the last 2 years for me.
Yeah, I mean, communication is so important, and especially now, people want to know what's going on. We don't want anyone to worry about the health of the business, so we've been very transparent, and we've started, like, I send an email out every week that gives an update on like everything. It gives an update on every part of the business, the good things, the bad things, and because otherwise I think people will just gossip and start talking about, we didn't see as many people doing takeout this week, or, and it's good to just be completely transparent. And then in terms of, checking in on people, we're pretty small. And my co-founder and I are like usually helping out either in front of the house or in the brewery or in the kitchen. And so we have a lot of opportunity to, see our team, and we've given a lot more mental health days than we have in the past, because we've noticed, the person who has her dad, 70-something-year-old dad living with her, right? Like, hey, looks like you need a break. Maybe you should take a day or two off. And just being cognizant that, people in this time, which is completely emotional, really stressful, that, people might need a little bit of time to themselves to get their, head in the game and to relax a little bit and then come back and be a little bit more stronger.
Yeah, we unfortunately have had to lay off quite a few people during these times. And back in March, we laid off around, and then we were able to bring a lot of them back. And then we had to lay off a lot of them again. I'm sure everyone can relate to that. And one of the things I've tried to do as this has progressed is, as we've laid people off, I've made myself available to them for resources as far as what they can apply for, how they can get government help. I know a lot about that, so I've told them, call me, email me, talk to me. I can help you, walk you through this process. I'm here for you guys, whether you work for us anymore or not, even if you move on to something else. And then for our staff that has stayed around, or we've been able to retain still, check in with them a lot. I have a really close relationship with all of my general managers, and they know that I'm available to them 24/7 for anything, and they take advantage of that in a good way. I mean, I appreciate it. They feel really comfortable talking to me. I feel really comfortable talking to them, and we have a very close personal relationship, all of us.
No, I think the conversation.
I think other people have said this too. They realize that I'm just as stressed as they are, and so it's nice having them. They understand where we're all in the same boat together. So.
Yeah, I think you guys just touched on the next point I wanted to go to. I was going to ask, how has your management strategies kind of changed during COVID? But you've really just talked about that. But more importantly, I mean, we talked about mental health of the employees. Mo, you talked a lot about the opportunities you're giving them. Chad, what are you doing at your brewery to help, your staff get through this tough time? How are you talking to them about the current state of things and keeping them positive?
Yeah, same thing. Giving them updates on where the business is and kind of our local ordinances, public health orders, stuff like that. Obviously a lot of it we know when they know. It's usually a press conference and it's announced, but we're trying to give them the cliff notes and let them know what's going on that's going to directly affect them, which is big. But yeah, I mean, it's really just all about communication, being transparent about the business. The shadier you are about what's happening behind the scenes, the less likely they're going to come back. Or if they do, the less likely they're going to be to trust you and your business. So give them a reason to trust you and yeah, just communicate. That's great.
No, we had a question in the comments. We touched on the mental health issue, but Julie Rhodes in the comments asked, does your brewery have any sort of paternity or maternity leave policy? I'd love to hear the policies you four have in effect, at each of your businesses.
I'm the first one to have a kid with our place, and I took some time.
Yeah. What do you think you're going to do for your employees, Barry? If you say you have an employee expecting, have you put any thought to that yet?
So, I mean, we're pretty liberal with our PTO use and all that to begin with. We want people across all categories, having a baby or otherwise, your time's your time. So, we're pretty generous with what our full-time employees get to build for that. We have benefits even for our front of house ones, and which almost every employee for us is a full-timer in a traditional sense. It's just one of those things that's part of our benefit package and just trying to make sure that we're taking care of every single person and not just having a categorical line draw, But
I love that you have a benefit package as part of employment. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we actually don't have built in to our employee handbook or really anything, honestly. But we do follow the Colorado state guidelines, which it requires it. And honestly, we're the same way. We're so liberal about our PTO that if you need time off, and it's all yours.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had the baby thing really happen yet, hopefully soon. But we have healthcare and good paid time off for everyone, and we also adapt. We had one of our staff that was undergoing cancer treatment. So there's we just adapt it to each person and give them, paid time off accordingly to their situation, which I think you can do as a small business owner. And then we adapt that back into the handbook as these cases arise.
Yeah, same kind of here. We don't have an official maternity leave policy, paid time off or anything, but we do. Of course, we would keep their job open for them when they're ready to come back.
Awesome. Well, the next topic I want to dive into, we've talked a lot about the hats that all four of you wear and how, you delegate different tasks, different people at your brewery as needed. But what about if it's something you can't handle? You don't have a staff member who's a good fit for that position. When and how do you decide to outsource something to an expert outside, of your business? I'd love to hear about the thought process that goes into, whether you're looking for a lawyer, accountant, a marketing expert. When do you choose to reach out to someone outside of your business?
If it's legal, hire a lawyer. If it's not, figure it out.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can't do.
Yeah, I think it's about the time. Is how much do you value your time, right? Do you really need to be snaking that drain, or should you just call the plumber in? I think that's the big part of it. And then obviously picking the right company to go with. We use Facebook a lot too. We have some local groups. I'm sure most of you guys are on it too, other than the craft beer for professionals, but there's industry resources and a lot of little places that you can ask for recommendations about, who's somebody's favorite plumber, who's somebody's favorite welder, I need some stainless welded or this or that. And generally somebody has good experience and you can get a good price on it. But but yeah, value your time. Yeah, if it's and especially if it's over your head and over your skill level, don't get into it. You're just going to break it and cause more issues. So just hire an expert.
Stay away from electricity.
Yeah, stay away from electricity.
We've got stay away from electricity. Hire a lawyer. Nicole, what do you got to add to this one?
Well, we don't outsource core things. Like for me, like marketing and like telling our story is really important, and that's something I'm always going to do. So I think it also depends upon what you value, and for us, like, telling our story, I'm never going to outsource that to anyone. But yeah, lawyering for sure. Yeah, and also like a lot of the construction that we did on our barn to rehab it, like all that stuff was outsourced because we want to just focus on brewing and in the business.
No, I'm in a transition. Sorry, go ahead, Mo.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I'm in a sort of unique position with this because of the resources that we have. So we don't outsource a ton, and when we do, it's after we've had one of our internal experts determine that we need to outsource it. So, yeah.
Excellent. Now I want to talk a little bit about what.
Sorry, I'm on a bit of a lag. I was saying the state guilds, at least I know in Florida, we have a pretty tight knit group. We have a whole forum off of it. It used to be on Facebook. Now it's gotten so like talkative that it ended up moving to its own like single source platform, if you will, for it. But a bunch of us are friends to begin with and just text each other if we have questions. I know a dozen guys I can reach out to for an issue. But in general, if you're not sure or for classifieds or otherwise, like state guilds are often pretty awesome.
Yeah, the state guilds are hugely important in the current state of craft beer right now. I can definitely echo that. Now, just looking at the four of your experiences, Nicole, I know you come from a background, you were an IBM executive.
Yeah.
How do you take your experience from your prior career and how did you and bring it into the brewery? Are there any certain, concepts that you really value from your past life that you brought into the taproom or the brewery experience?
Yeah, I mean, there's good and bad to being a former executive at a large company. I learned the hard way that a lot of people in a small company don't read email. I was used to like emailing someone and like a billion things would happen instantly. And so I had to relearn actually my communication style. But I think the aspects that I learned that were really important are like one around setting vision and goals for people. And giving people a reason for why they want to work for your company. So like we are pretty, since the day one, like we've all been about like trying to use as much local ingredients as possible in making our product and doing, good for our community and for the planet. And I think a lot of people want to work for us because they believe in our vision. So I think very clearly setting a vision that people want to aspire to and help achieve and give them purpose and meaning in their job is really important. And then like setting individual goals with people and also coaching. Coaching we talked a little bit about before, but I think, performance appraisals are scary for people. Like no matter how often we are with our employees, like as soon as you bring them into the office to like talk about like a review, like people start like all of a sudden their mouth is dry, like they can't talk, right? And I think learning to do daily coaching and helping people and giving immediate feedback is something that I've learned a long time ago and has been extremely useful in a small business as well.
Awesome. And for the three other of you,
for one-on-ones, and I know it's not practical at scale if you have like a huge company, but when we do it, I try to do it off-site. So I pick an account and I tend to take that one person and go and spend an hour with them and have a beer, have some lunch or something else. But for most of the stuff, or at least the ones that are kind of like in the growth part of their career, or like, integral to a thing like a market manager or whatever, I tend to do a one-on-one offsite so that we're completely like away from everything. And it's not so, I'm going to the conference room. Like, it just makes it an easier thing and it becomes a conversation. And I don't know, I've always seen better comfort levels than when I did it in the conference room and everyone's like, what's up?
Yeah, same for us. We actually do one-on-ones with every employee. We have part-time employees who are school teachers that only put in maybe 10 to 20 shifts during a summer, but we'll still do a one-on-one with them. And I think one of the most important things we do is we'll sometimes do them off-site if it's feasible. Sometimes we'll do them in the brewery. But I just like to do them right out in the tap room. I want to make them feel like we're just having a beer. You're not coming into the office, and you're not getting called into the principal's office, So hopefully you go in positive. But I always like to ask them, what do you want to do in this industry? What do you want to do here? If there's any role that you could have, no matter what, what do you want to do? Even if it's my job. And I just want to see where they're at, because not only is it important to know that for helping them grow within our own company, but if there's an opportunity outside of our company years down the road that they fit, I'm going to recommend it to them, because I want to see them grow, beyond Jagged. I tell a lot of my employees, and not to make it sound bad, but I say, hey, this, a bartender job here is a good stepping stone for something next. I don't want you to be a bartender for the rest of your life. I want you to run this place or do something even more than that. So if they tell me what they want to do, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for opportunities for them. Hopefully it's with us, but obviously sometimes that just isn't the case. But if it's something they want to do, I don't want them to miss out just because they're pouring pints of beer behind a bar. So,
no, I absolutely love that, Chad.
Yeah.
No, that kind of segues really nicely into a next conversation topic I want to hit on: motivation. There's so many different ways you can motivate your staff. And Chad touched on, opportunity to climb the ladder at the company. Everybody likes the potential to climb and just take on more responsibility. But what other strategies and methods have the four of you seen worthwhile? Whether it's, given the opportunity for people to, rise in different positions at the company, possibly rewards, possibly recognition. What has worked best at your breweries?
I say often that it's better to catch someone doing something right than catch someone doing something wrong. And I mean, that's a little thing you can do every day as an operational GM. It's just, hey, I saw what you did there. Great job. It goes so far. It's so much more effective than, don't do that again. Reinforcing positive behavior people love it. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy. And then you think, God, I want to do something again right. I want to get called out for being good again. Like, it's just human nature. Everybody loves it. I love it when my boss does it. Oh, hey, great job on that. So it's not a huge, big thing. It doesn't cost any money, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think in 2020, it's definitely it's important to tell people they're doing a good job right now. Just, it really goes a long way. Say, hey, Mo, you're doing a great job today.
Yeah,
thanks, Andrew.
You're welcome.
I like to go, like, I'll be eating something from the kitchen and I'll go in and be like, oh my God, like, this is the best thing that I put in my mouth. Or like go into the brew house and say, you guys, this beer is so like friggin' good. Just even like simple things like that. I think people like hearing, and they call us the moms. So I think when your mom tells you, that you're doing a good job, I think it really matters to them. So.
Yeah. Positive reinforcement is key. Another thing I like to do is just getting them involved in little small decisions that might not be small, but say like merchandise. We're putting out some new shirts. I like to design up a bunch, like give them 10 options, print them all out, and give the stack of them to them and say, hey, what do you like? Circle what you don't like. If you want me to change a color, move a logo around, give them a little bit of opportunity to make a decision. And then once that shirt's printed and they get it, it's kind of cool. Like, hey, I made that decision. That's my color choice, or that I decided to put that logo there. And they get excited about that. Beer names are another one that's really fun to do. Beer names are great. Like just asking your team, hey, well, you guys got any good beer names for this new IPA we're coming out? And you'll get some winners out of there. You'll get some really hilarious ones too that you might end up saving for another beer down the road, but you put it on the list, and when you use it, they feel special. They feel like that's another just a huge compliment to them, Chad,
first off, stop saying things that I absolutely love, but I believe it's extremely a great way to get people involved by getting them involved in all parts of the process. Just because someone's just pouring beer doesn't mean you can't ask them marketing and merchandising ideas or suggestions for what they should brew next. It's, the more you feel you're part of a family, the more you'll want to stick around there longer, and the more you'll be invested in it. I think that's extremely important. As we wind down this conversation, we've talked a lot about what you do for your staff, but you four are the bosses. How do you measure your success to know you're doing a good job? Because it's not always going to be there to someone say, hey, Mom, you're doing a great job, or hey, Mo, I'm proud of you, or Barry, keep up the good work, or Chad, keep doing what you're doing. So how do you measure your own success as a boss?
For me, I think it's one, managing turnover. Like if you don't have a lot of turnover, that often says a lot. And two, seeing where the people that have been on your teams have gone. So, something that like Chad alluded to earlier off of it, we had an amazing sales rep, and he had an opportunity to become a state manager for a liquor company. And I was like, when he told me about it, I was like, give him a big hug. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. Like, this is awesome. I can't give you better than this. Go do it. Go be the best. And, we still a very good friend, and we stay in touch all the time. But, seeing his career growth and just getting to talk about his success lights me up. Like, I got to be a part of helping get him to that. And this guy's going to go in, like, he's going to spread that love, and he's going to share that with people that are on his teams in the future, and like just building positivity across all facets. Like, it's humbling. It's awesome.
Awesome.
There's an old adage that says something like, people quit their bosses and not their jobs. So, like Barry said, I will concur. I think a lot of it is turnover. We've been pretty lucky that way. We've had people with us for 5, 6, 7, 9 years. And I think that's the biggest thing, as well as like overall vibe and happiness. Like you could tell, like if people are gelling as a team, or things are seem a little bit weird. Like every once in a day, we're like, why is it weird? And you have to get to the bottom of what's going on, and like help people. But I think it's turnover and overall cultural happiness.
The times when I have personally felt the most successful is when I've had that conversation with an employee that we all dread, where this is the last time we're having this conversation. If we have it again, you're not going to work here anymore. And then they become one of the best employees that you have. That feeling of really helping someone develop in a positive way is one of the most, it just fills me with happiness, let's say. And it makes me feel very successful to see that I was able to help in some small way, put someone on the right direction, on the right path.
Yeah. When my one side of my L-shaped bar is filled up with employees on their day off, that usually feels pretty successful. I feel like they want to hang out. Whether or not they're telling me I'm doing a good job or not, I feel like we're doing a good job overall. Yeah. And it's not just about me, regardless, it's about the team. So I'm just a team player, and I'm just trying to make sure that they're doing everything they can. And if they're coming in on a day off, that's big. I've worked at a lot of places where I would not be caught dead there on my day off. And luckily this is not one of them. I'll say that one of the worst pieces of advice I ever received from a past employer was never be friends with your employees. And I thought that was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard, because I just think that gets you absolutely nowhere. I think respect, it comes from friends. And if you don't have friends on your team, then I don't know what's going on.
No, I love it. And I love the enthusiasm you four shared today. And I also love the fact that when you talked about your own success, you weren't really talking about your own success, but you were measuring it by how successful others are. And that's truly a great quality. So I truly respect you for having that belief. But for Panel Fest, we're ending every single conversation with the same question. And 2020 has been a very, very difficult year for all of us. You've almost made it through. But if you had to look back on the year of the pandemic so far, what has been one bright spot in your life? It could be personal, it could be business. I'd love to hear something, exciting and positive that you want to share with everybody, listening today.
I'll go first.
We've had some of our. Oh, go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say that it's funny, like looking back, it was a very hard year. But at the end of the day, like the creativity that came out of our team and the ideas that we actually executed on, and how we changed up so much. Like we used to be counter service, and then when we got to open back up, we did, full service outside in our beer garden. We're still not open inside, but we're doing, like all kinds of take-home meals and Christmas dinners, and we've launched a sausage company. Like there's all these crazy things that we're doing that we never would have done. And I actually feel like it's a good thing that we now have other ideas and ways that we can make money that aren't necessarily just, beer and people coming into the restaurant related. And it's all about like the team being creative and coming up with just, really good ideas.
Yeah, I've truly enjoyed watching the creativity come out of this pandemic. So awesome work there.
Yeah, we've had some of our best, or like most seen and like longest legged marketing campaigns happen this year, which has been pretty cool. Like our adoptable lager was featured on Ellen and USA Today and every news outlet in the world. That was just an incredible start to the year. Gronkzilla, after Robin Gronkowski got signed to us, he said Gronkzilla on Monday Night Football a couple of weeks ago, and like that beer's taken off throughout the Bay, which has been cool. We've just had a bunch of things that have, drummed up some news, kept us relevant. And it's just been really fun for some of the creativity that's come, during this time. Also being able to help to, the community. We like teamed up with the distillery when there was the shortage on hand sanitizer, and to be able to put some of our resources to that when we were fully shut down. We had some of our guys go and help with that process and then deliver that out to first responders just to, as a donation because we wanted to help. It's been cool to see the creativity and the teamwork that's come from a pretty insane year.
Good work, Barry.
Yeah, same here. Both of those. I would echo both Nicole and Barry. But the creativity was next level this year. The stops that people pulled out, breweries outside of ours, was pretty great, and there was a lot to be said about the struggle we were up against, especially here in Colorado, and what our guild did, which is actually just one person right now on the guild. It's pretty insane that they rallied in and supported 400 plus breweries in our state, and it's cool to see that out of an industry that could be very competitive and very divided, but it really came together this year. And another thing too is I was just impressed that my staff took the initiative to put their mental health first. It's hard to get through these times, and they really took it upon themselves to get outside, get fresh air, go for a hike, connect with friends, and not get in a funk. And I think that was really big during our initial shutdown from March until June, because when we reopened late June, it was vibes were pretty good, and positivity was high. So I think that just made a big difference. People just did what they needed to do, and we all came together on it.
No, it sounds like you did a fantastic job supporting them. That's awesome. And Mo, last but not least.
Yeah, I think staff rising to this challenge has been the bright spot for me. I've seen a lot of people in our organization really step up and keep it together and make sure that the staff that they have is happy and working. And in particular, I have a GM in Albuquerque who really shines, and she's always been amazing, but in this time, she has really knocked it out of the park and probably grown and developed as a GM more than she would have otherwise, and really done some amazing things with very little business coming in. She's made it work, and I've been really impressed with her, and her attitude every day is incredible, and it shines through to the staff and to the customers, and it's been really nice to see.
No, I've really enjoyed how much you guys have praised your staff this past hour. I think it's so great how you've surrounded yourself and created that positive company culture and just full of people who are passionate about what you do. And your four passionate attitudes, they radiate through the screen. So I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks for sharing your insight. 2020, like I said, again, it's been a weird year. You're going to have an amazing next year. I'm looking forward to hopefully having a beer with you all four in person, whether at your breweries or some industry event. I definitely look forward to that. But Barry, Chad, Nicole, and Mo, thank you very, very much for being here today. And I hope to see everybody soon. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Talk to you later.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.